Welcome to the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. This show is brought to you by Oakley Trucking, headquartered in North Little Rock, Arkansas. The purpose of this podcast is to communicate with Oakley owner-operators and their families by giving them up-to-date information concerning Oakley Trucking and the trucking industry, from business advice to safety updates to success stories. Also to give an insight to outside truck drivers that might be interested in joining the Oakley family. Hi, I'm Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 36. So on this episode, we're going to meet two of Oakley's finest dispatchers. We're going to learn a little bit about them and what they do. We're going to talk to them about how they make decisions on what loads to cover every day, how they keep up with all their owner-operators, and what all their responsibilities they have as a dispatcher. We're also going to talk about the process of going from recruiting to orientation to getting your first load. So this ought to be a great episode. Be sure and stay tuned with us and listen up. But first, let's check in with Vickie Chastain on this week's Need to Know segment.
Truck driving is hard work. A driver spends up to 11 hours each day sitting alone behind a steering wheel, dealing with customers, vendors, other truck drivers, and non-commercial motor vehicles. It is grueling and can take a toll on your health. Staying healthy, that's today's Need to Know segment. Truck drivers that drive over the road face many conditions that affect not only their physical health, but also their mental well-being. Fatigue can play a big factor with the driver's mental health. Physical and mental exhaustion can also affect the driver's response time and attention span. It is very important that you take time for personal hygiene and exercise to help avoid health issues. Some health problems can affect your ability to drive and could cost you your commercial motor driver's license. Stay safe and live healthy. I'm Vickie Chastain, and that's this week's Need to Know segment.
Okay, guys, let's dive off into this episode with these two dispatchers we've got lined up for us today to give y'all a little insight on them. So we've got Kell and Austin up in here with us and going to learn a little bit about them guys. How y'all doing today?
Doing good. How y'all doing?
Hey, I tell you, let's always like the listeners to get an idea who we're talking to here. So I want them to, if you guys don't care, start with you, Austin. Give us a little bit of history on you about how you got to Oakley. That helps a lot, understand what you did before that and, you know, kind of what you're doing now. Give us a little bit of history. It's Austin Allen, right?
That is correct.
All right. Let's start with you.
All right. So I'm from Beebe, Arkansas, which is kind of where Oakley started, you know, back in the 60s. Mr. Bruce Oakley started his company back then. So that's where I'm from. That's where I grew up, went to high school, actually graduated with Justin Oakley. So I know him pretty well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Absolutely. Good. Graduated in 2005. Went to Arkansas State in Jonesboro. After a year spent there at ASU BB. Graduated there in 2011 and started at Oakley 11 days later.
What'd you get a degree in?
International business.
International business.
Yes, sir.
What was the purpose of that?
You know, I ask myself that all the time. I'm dispatching trucks now. So.
And you ended up at Oakley.
Yes, sir. I mean, we are an international company. We do trading overseas, so I obviously don't do a whole lot of that other than moving some freight, you know, from the States to Canada.
Now, you still live in BB?
No, sir. I actually just bought a duplex here in Sherwood and living in one side and renting the other one out.
No kid? Not married?
Not married, no kids. Got an awesome girlfriend going on right now, so
Things are looking up.
Things are good right now.
Good
Things
deal.
are good.
What do you do in your spare time?
Play some golf. Love golfing. Not that good.
Bunch of you BB boys are golfers, aren't you?
Working on it every year.
Is there even a golf course at BB?
No, sir. There is not.
How did y'all grow up playing golf? Did you wait till you got to college?
Well, I actually did. I started probably my senior year of high school or first year of college. Started playing golf, and here I am 15 years later, and I'm about the same as I was when I started. So it's been a very fun but challenging game that I've grown to love. So
yeah, I used to do that a long time ago when I first started Oakley. I used to play golf. Me and Scott Cowden used to play all the time. We had some times playing golf now, I tell you. That was back in the day. That was we weren't very good either, but it was fun. But what else you like to do? Anything else?
And earlier this year, I bought a boat.
Come on.
I'm a big boat guy now.
Nice. What kind of boat did you get?
I got a 21-foot ski boat, Sea Ray.
What's the name of the boat?
Misbehaving.
Misbehaving. Oh,
Misbehaving.
Yeah. You got stickers on it saying that?
Oh, yeah. There's a name on the back of it, Misbehaving. It was on there when I bought it, so,
Yeah, don't lose that.
Absolutely. It's bad luck if you change the name of a boat, so we stuck with it.
How long you been at Oakley?
Been here 9 years now, going on 10. Next summer will be 10 years.
What have you done the whole time you've been here?
Well, when I first started, I was in the pneumatic division from July until November, kind of training under Micah and Bradley. In fact, I think Jolly was over there back then.
Right.
Before he moved off to Oklahoma, of course. Did that for about 4 or 5 months and then moved into the sand division and was a sand dispatcher from November 2011 until probably April of 16.
How many years of your life did you lose there?
At least 10.
At least 10. I don't mean
Bare
that in a
minimum.
bad way, saying, guys, that's a tough job.
Yeah.
Dispatching.
It was good until it got rough there for a while.
Yeah, it was great for a while. So
Yeah, it was night dispatch for the vast majority of the majority of that time, working from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
that's right. We did night shift for a long time.
4 on, 4 off. It was a transition, trying to adjust your sleep schedule and
Sure.
just that whole
And what are you
night
doing
out.
now?
I'm an in-dump dispatcher. I've been there since April of 2016.
Okay.
Trained under Nick Crisco for several months, probably 5-6 months. And then whenever Levi Denton moved to Arizona, I took over his border trucks.
Okay.
And that was December 5th of 2016.
How many trucks you running, Austin?
Right now I've got 43.
43. Pretty good load.
Yes, sir. It's a challenge every day.
Okay. Well, good. Glad everybody got to listen to a little bit of that and meet Austin Allen. Now let's go to Kell. Kell, tell everybody your last name because nobody knows how to say it.
It's butchered more times than not, but
Yeah.
it's Shin and Up, just like your shin and up.
Shenep.
Much easier said than spelled.
Yeah, Kell Shenep. All right, Kell, give us a little history on you if you don't care.
All right, I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. Pretty much lived there since I was about 4 years old. I, like Austin, went to Arkansas State as well. It's kind of how I got here in a roundabout way. Grew up playing golf and played with the Crisco brothers, especially Nick Crisco over the years. And so played with him at Arkansas State as well. So always kept in touch with him. And he worked here, I guess, 2 or 3 years before I got here. And out of college, I went to work for, my dad worked at a bank. I went and worked for Delta Trust selling insurance. And that wasn't quite what I was wanting to do at the
Right.
time. So just kind of talked to Nick several times about what he was doing, how much he liked everything here at Oakley. And I guess it wasn't long after that, applied for here at Oakley and started out working here in the in-dump division, starting out under Jason Webb. Worked there for not long, couple months, 2-3 months, and then same as Austin, kind of took similar career paths over here, went and worked in the sand division when it was booming and going, and worked there till 16, and then moved back over to the in-dump division.
Okay. So how many years that give you here at Oakley?
It'll be 9 years in May.
Golly, already that much.
Yeah, 9 years in May.
And it don't seem like it. Seem like you guys just started. 9 years. Okay. What do you do in your spare time? Still golf?
Still golf quite a bit. Not as much as I like, but more than probably my wife would like.
Right.
I've got a wife, and I've got a 2.5-year-old little girl. Sophie.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so that's the rest of my spare time, or majority of my spare time, is spent chasing her around and trying to keep her out of trouble.
So when you going to have the other 4 kids?
Yeah. I don't know about 4 more. 1 more, I think, is our limit.
Is it?
Yeah.
They're a handful.
I think 2 is a good number for us, I believe.
That's what I said too. But now listen, I got 2 boys now, and they're 22 and 20 years old. And now I go back and I wished I'd had about 4 or 5 kids, because you don't realize what you're doing. When you're young like that, it's sometimes it's a bothersome, and cut into the golf and the fishing and the boating and all that some. But I'm telling you, man, once they get a little bit older, you're like, man, I wish I had a few more of them, because then you start thinking about spreading your family. Oh, I'm gonna have more family now,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I just got these 2 cats, what if they go south on me, and don't have any wives or kids? And I mean, you start thinking like that when you get a little older. So
yeah, it might be a few years before I start
I
thinking like that.
recommend everybody have more kids than you think you need. So all right, well, let's now we met you guys, let's talk a little bit about Oakley Trucking and Dispatch. You guys are both in the end dump dispatch. How many trucks you got, Kell?
I've got 55 right now.
Okay, so you definitely got your hands full. 55, and Austin, you said you had 43.
43, yes, sir.
So, and you guys work together a lot. You said, I know, across from each other, so you do a lot of communicating together.
Yeah, all day, every day, to a certain extent. I mean, there's times where you look up and I may like, dang, I didn't talk to Austin all day. And then there's other days where it feels like we're talking nonstop all day to each other. But that's kind of the, in our division, with it, as big as it is now, it's spread out, especially with COVID stuff. But, we still deal with each other every day, all day, pretty much in a roundabout way.
Well, and just so our listeners know, you guys, we're all working from the office. I know we had a short time there. We tried to work from home, but now we're working from the office. The dispatchers are still in the old office, the original office, but you're spaced out and everything's fine. And,
right.
If drivers want to come in, they can come in, just wear a mask and,
right.
Try to social distance best you can. We're trying to do that. But so they're all in the old office. But so let's get down to, what your daily activities are with dispatching 43 and 55 end dumps. Give our listeners, I think they know most of them are our owner operators, of course, but give them an idea of what some of your responsibilities are, maybe what you go through during the day. Got any input? Let's start with you, Austin.
Well, we come in every morning, we've got these border trucks that we're looking after on a day-to-day basis. And, a lot of times those guys don't realize that, not only are we dispatching them and finding loads for them and planning them out, we're also looking at their settlements. We're looking at their paperwork, their washouts, their, any kind of paperwork that they send in for us to approve. We're going through all those documents as well. So, I mean, there's a whole lot more that goes into it than just simply answering the phones and telling them where to go.
Well, and I think that's a good point, because we'll have people call up here and go, I need to talk to payroll. Well, you are payroll pretty much.
We are men and women of many hats around here. That's for sure.
And what I mean by that is you guys look at all the paperwork comes in as far as the merge sheets. You make the decision on whether to pay that or not, because you're looking at what you're billing out to the customer.
Right. Absolutely.
So you're looking at making sure all that's correct, even the tonnage that the guys are getting on. Do y'all look at that and how much weight they haul?
Right. Every day we're looking at invoices and like you said, we're looking at tonnage, and that's why drivers will get a phone call here and there, and we'll, question them on a tonnage if they only got on, say, 22 tons when they can haul 24 tons, or, looking at that and trying to figure out what the issue was, if it's something on their end or the customer's end or whatever the issue is, that we're not getting on that weight, at that time, that's maximizing the haul for us. And then
you look at that, and then when the settlement is done by the payroll, you guys look over the settlement one more time before you okay it, right?
Yes, sir. So everything comes through us at least once, maybe twice. If there's any kind of corrections that need to be made to those settlements, we go through and make sure all their loads are on there, make sure all their paperwork's in for that load to be processed to be on their settlement. And a lot of times if a guy forgets to scan a load in or for whatever reason it gets lost in transflow, we're calling them back saying, hey, man, I need your paperwork so we can get that on your settlement and get it processed so you can get paid for it this coming Friday. So very important to get your paperwork in and try to stay on top of that, on a day-to-day basis and not wait till the very end of the week.
Right.
To create a paperwork nightmare for the billing girls. So,
well, because if we don't have all the correct paperwork, we can't bill the customer.
Right.
That's correct.
If we can't bill the customer, we're not paying the driver.
Right. And like Austin said, it's much easier to track down if they're doing that as that load is completed. Go ahead and getting that paperwork in there or doing it. I tell all my new guys at the very latest, do it that night instead of some guys getting the habit of doing it Monday before it's due, at X amount of time. They're doing it Monday morning or Monday night. And then, like Austin said, if one thing's wrong with it, we're having to track it back down. And a lot of times that means we're having to, in return, go to the customer and get it from them. And it's just hard to do all that by Tuesday midday when settlements are printed and make sure their checks are, they're getting paid for that load. The one thing we want to make sure we do is get everything that they do that week before on that check and get it paid correctly that first time.
Yeah. That way it's what they expect to be on there is what they did. And paperwork's is a big deal when it comes to that. What else besides paperwork?
As far as, their Qualcomm goes, they're having to respond to these messages, and I see a lot of customers, especially in the pneumatic division, they're requiring these, electronic messages going back and forth with these Omnitrax units to the customers. I know that we do some loads out of Oklahoma or out of South Carolina going to Oklahoma that, the customer is seeing when these guys are responding to these messages, whether they're loaded or,
that goes straight to the customer.
Straight to the customer.
Okay.
Not only that, but they're also grading Oakley and their drivers on how well a job they're doing, updating it in real time. So they're giving them a report card, or giving us a report card after, I guess, every month, that they're literally giving us a grade like a teacher did in grade school, as far as, you got 100%, you did it all right this week, or you did 10 loads and 2 guys just weren't updating the loads in real time. So therefore you get a 80%.
No kidding.
Which,
are we letting our owner operators know which customers are doing that? Like if they're going to do that load, you letting them know that?
Yes. On the end dump side, the only loads I know of that we have are Seneca, South Carolina to Duncan, Oklahoma.
Okay.
The pneumatics, like Austin said, they have several more that are getting,
That's good to know. That's good
direct.
for owner operators to know,
Right.
especially you tell them that that's the way customers are grading on our customer service.
Right.
I mean, I feel like things are going to trend that way as everything gets more and more electronic. They're going to want to see those responses on that. So I just try, I'm the world's worst of stressing the guys about responding to their messages on their Omnitrax unit. I just see that being the way of the future,
How about communicating with your drivers, your owner operators by telephone? How's that going? I mean, is it, because I'm sure if you're an owner operator out there right now, you're thinking, man, he's got 55 trucks. How's he going to talk to all those guys every day? Or he's got 43. I mean, how can you have a decent conversation and a relationship with that many guys? I mean, are you limiting them on how much they can talk to you, or are you just, I mean, I know you guys put in a long hours.
It's definitely a fine line there. I'm probably worse about staying on the phone a little too long with drivers and not, moving to the next problem. But it's kind of a balance there. Do you want the relationship, or do you want to, move on to the next problem you got? You kind of want to have a good balance there, and I'm definitely working on that.
I'm the opposite. My drivers would probably tell you I'm more business, and it's like Austin said, there's definitely a fine line either way you go on that. But we certainly have time to talk to all our drivers, whether you may call in and we put you on hold right away, but it's not because we don't want to talk to you or anything like that. It's just we're dealing with something else right then, and I promise you we will get to you, as quickly as we possibly can. And calling in between 7 and 9 in the morning, we still can't stress that enough. Even even with Qualcomm and Omnitrax and all that these days, it's still
You still need to hear
vital.
from them.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
And why is that?
So we know exactly where they are, that morning, where they're starting their day. If they've had any issues, we can look on the Qualcomm and pull up a guy and say, all right, he's in Meridian, Mississippi. That's great. He's heading to Mobile, Alabama. So he'll be there in 2 hours or whatever it is. But it digs a lot deeper. Does he have a issue with his trailer or his truck? Is he in the shop? Is he, what time can he start his day? It goes a lot deeper than us just pulling up a guy on the Qualcomm and that telling the story. It certainly does not tell the story. I get on to guys still, if I don't hear from them between 7 and 9, they call in empty at 1 o'clock, and heck, it's easy for us to forget about a guy if he hadn't called in by 9 o'clock, and then you don't hear from him till 1 o'clock. It's like, whoa, man, where,
Yeah.
it definitely needs to still happen. It only helps us help the driver if we're hearing from him between 7 and 9. It's not going to hurt the driver by any means. It's only going to help that driver, find us a load in an appropriate time. And
7 to 9 needs to be the business phone call.
Right.
I'm on,
right.
I'm
Let's get to the point.
Let's get to the point.
Let's make it quick. Let's give me some factual information here, and then proceed from there. That way, what you can do with the guy for the rest of the day at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of our guys do a great job of that. I'm not sitting here and belittling anyone for saying they don't, but it's just still, I just want to remind guys, it is still very important for all of us to make sure we hear from them every day between 7 and 9. I think it's easy for guys if they're on a longer haul or something like that to just assume that they don't have to call in, but we still need to, just so we can kind of keep track of that.
Well, and I think the majority of our guys typically have the daytime work schedule.
Right.
They typically work during the day, sleep at night. I mean, there
Right.
may be a few out there that would rather run at night when there's not near as much traffic or something like that. But regardless, the 7 to 9 is when you're planning his day. And
Right.
the better information that he can give you at 7 o'clock in the morning, the better you can plan for him.
Right. We're also getting calls from customers, calls from customers at 7 on the dot or 8 on the dot in the morning saying, hey, when's so-and-so going to get my load here? When are they going to be here to pick up? Or, they're constantly wanting live ETAs from us. Even if we gave them one the day before at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they're still, if they're needing that material at a certain time, they're wanting to make sure it's going to get there at a certain time. And only way for us to know that is to physically, talk to the driver.
Yeah. What about dealing with the customers? I mean, is that something that you guys do and you do a lot of dealing with the customers? Or is that more the load coordinators? Do they deal more with the customers? I mean, I guess one reason I'm saying that or asking that, I'm thinking like a truck driver, and how is the pre-planning process? Because, we hear it all the time from recruiting. You guys probably do too, is I need to know what my next load is, so I can plan my day and the next
Right.
day, and it helps so much. So what's the planning process that takes place?
As far as the customers and who's talking to them, the majority of the freight that we're booking here is booked by the load coordinators. That doesn't mean that Kell and I don't, call and book our own freight with other customers that the load coordinators aren't handling. So, we all kind of pile in together and, book our own freight some and, book for everybody else. So the load coordinators, yeah, they do the majority of the freight booking.
Okay. I think that helps because I'm thinking you guys ain't got time to do that anyway. You got 55 trucks, you got 43. I mean, how in the world are you
Right.
going to talk to customers during that time anyway? You need to be spending time with the owner operators and planning for them ahead of time. How do you plan ahead, Kell? I mean, for guys, and do you typically know what the next load is going to be for you guys?
When it's busier right now, right now freight is really good, and it's certainly better than it was. What are we in November now? So back June, July, August, it was certainly slower than what it is now. It's much easier for us as dispatchers to have guys pre-planned right now when it's busy. There for a while back in the summer when it's slower, there's a lot of times you don't know what a guy's going to do. You're jumping up and down when you get that load that they're on right now. So you certainly don't know what they're doing next. That's that's when our job is even harder, I think, or everybody's job. But it's because you are having to pick up the phone and make more phone calls to customers trying to book loads versus us receiving phone calls that them wanting the trucks. It takes up a lot more time when you're having to, if you got 55 guys, you come into work, 25, 30 guys don't have a load that day. It's a long morning trying to get everybody moved. And right now, thankfully freight is definitely turning the corner and, trending the other direction.
Yeah. And when there is an abundance of freight, which, is good right now, it makes it, of course, easier to plan for those guys. And I know things change. That's the deal, because customers make us change, right?
Right.
100%.
Because we're one of those companies where a customer calls and says, I need 20 trucks in Donaldsonville, Louisiana in the morning. What do y'all start doing?
Panicking and figuring out how we can get 20 trucks to Donaldsonville, Louisiana.
You definitely have to be an opportunist in our job and get, figure out a way to get it done. There's obviously a balance there somewhere. You don't want to overbook, but if you're constantly turning down freight and not booking any, you're not going to keep guys busy. So if a customer calls in, especially if it's one of your everyday customers and, they're needing trucks, we've got to make it happen somehow, which in return is going to change up some guys' plans, from what we had from the day before when we left office at 5 o'clock in the evening. There's a lot that can change between then and 9 o'clock the next morning on what a guy's going to do. Good or bad. Sometimes it may mean a guy gets shorter miles that on that next load, or sometimes it's, we're booking a load that's 900 load miles. But there's certainly a lot of change that happens, between all day, really,
right.
As far as what customers are calling in or what loads they may cancel, or what guys are ready to come out of the house all of a sudden or out of the shop, or, there's always moving pieces to our puzzle.
That's when you call the owner operator and say, cancel that load. I'm taking you off that load.
Right.
Yeah, we're changing you up.
We're changing you up. Throw away that, delete that message. That's not happening. And of course, they're always like, Man, I had my
fuel stop picked out.
He had everything lined up.
Right.
Where I was going, what I was doing. Wife was going to meet me down the road. I mean, all this stuff, and then you're changing them up.
Right.
But, that's. I've always told them. I said, we don't do that to be mean to you. That's not.
It makes our job easier when we already have that guy on a plane and on our sheet. We've all got our own sheets that we use, however we do it differently, but we've got them highlighted at that point, and we've moved on to the next truck. So it's not fun for us necessarily either to have to call a guy and change them up and figure it out. But at times it definitely has to happen.
Well, you got to balance the customer service and the driver's needs,
right?
I guess. So, do you guys know every week of the guy's miles and money? I mean, what kind of week he's had? Most of your drivers?
Yes, sir. We keep up with a spreadsheet, an Excel file, spreadsheet for miles, money, what they've made on the week, how many miles they've got, and what we've made on the week. So, I mean, that's something that we do every single day. And if a guy asks me on Wednesday, how many miles I got this week, I can just simply flip over to that spreadsheet and let them know.
Well, that's good.
And, man, how much money have I made? It's Thursday, where am I at? Well, you've got that information readily available for them. So, I mean, it helps us and it helps them.
For each guy, what's your goal for him to
well,
make every week?
It just depends on their expectations. Whenever they hire on, they've got a set number in mind that they want to make, money wise. Depends on, some guys want to be home every weekend so they can, see their wives, kids, family, whatever. And those guys typically don't require as much money. So, I mean, I would like to see a guy averaging, if he's going home every week, I'd like to see him averaging $2,300 to $2,600 take home on average.
And home every weekend.
I
don't know how you guys do that. I mean, we used to couldn't do that. And I've told this story before about when we used to only recruit guys that had to stay out 2 weeks at a time.
Right.
We never, were able to recruit a guy to be home every weekend, and then things just started changing, and we realized, we're going to have to do this if we're wanting to grow like we need to grow, and the customers meet the customer's demands, we're going to have to make some of this stuff happen. And you guys get some of these guys home every weekend, and they still make money. So I don't know how you do it. That's got to be a tough job to juggle right there. And I don't know. I know it's probably frustrating sometimes, and you like to keep them out sometimes too. Especially when freight's just rolling. You guys hit your guys up to stay out on the weekend sometimes.
Absolutely, and you have the guys that are willing to stay out if need be, or that you may dangle it out there and say, hey, I've got this load that's 800 load miles, here on Friday, and then plus I've got this back behind it. Is that something you're interested in? Do you need the money right now, or is the home time more important to you?
Making him choose.
Yeah, right. We've got to do our job at the same time. But me as a father and having a young daughter, I certainly understand the need for home time too. So I can't ever get mad at a guy if he says, hey, I got to go home, I need to see the kid, or whatever reason. Everybody's got their own reasons they want to be home. So I can't fault a guy for wanting to go home or needing to be home or whatever he's got going on. We certainly understand that when a guy, has something to do and has something going on they need to be there for. We try and make dang sure that happens for that guy. Well,
it's a challenge to make that happen all the time. And that's good though. It's been able to grow the company over, years and years. I mean, we got 865 owner operators now, my goodness, and a big part of that is being able to do what you guys do, is work them and get them home on the weekends. But I know it probably hasn't changed, from the days that I was involved in dispatch. My best truck driver was the one that never went home. That was my favorite one to dispatch, because he just kept going and kept going. Of course, back then it was, safety wasn't a priority either. So, but thank goodness things have changed since then. It's been a long time ago.
Certainly makes it easy when you don't have to worry about where a guy's going and, how in the world you're going to get them back home if you do send them somewhere. It's, for those guys that do stay out a couple weeks at a time, it's easier to get them miles just for that very reason.
You make it worth their time if they stay out. Now, I think that's what a lot of guys misunderstand is if they say, I want to stay out the weekend, but I want to be working the weekend. I don't want to be sitting, on no 300-mile haul from Friday to Monday. I need to be working. And that's what y'all are saying you do.
Right. Yeah, we certainly try and make it worthwhile. And, like Austin said, his expectations for guys that go home, we've also got expectations in our mind that those guys need to make if they are out there working for it to, for it to make it worthwhile for them to stay away from their family that weekend or miss a sporting game or whatever their hobbies are, that they're staying away from that weekend to stay out there and work. They don't want to be working and sitting. They can do that at the house and would much rather do it there at the house than out there on the road, I'm sure.
Okay. Good stuff, man. Real good stuff. What else y'all got on your mind? This is like a open platform here. You can say whatever you want. You can if you got a message you want to get out to our owner operators, now's the time to do it. And I think we're getting more and more listeners, so I think it'll help. Y'all got anything you want to add?
Man, just keep up with what you guys are doing out there. I mean, we've got a great group of guys. I know we definitely don't brag on you guys enough. Y'all are the ones that, take care of what we call Big Mama. Obviously Oakley being Big Mama. So appreciate what you guys do for us, every day, every week, every year.
Yeah, we got some good ones.
We do. And Jeremy's been here, 25 years, 25 plus?
Yeah.
He says we got some of the best, and I can believe it.
Yeah, we do. We got some great owner operators. They take care of us every year, every day, every week. It is nice to have good ones.
I think we hear it, all the time. We probably don't tell our owner operators enough, but we're constantly getting emails or phone calls about how much our drivers and equipment, how different they appear out there on the road and at their facilities than other carriers. You hear it all the time, whether it's the clean shaven or the clean equipment coming in and out of there, or, just their professional manner, it certainly makes our job easier for sure. We've gotten no telling how much business throughout the years since I've been here, and well before that, on guys doing their part out there that we're not the ones doing it out there on the road. So it's y'all out there, the owner operators, that are doing the hard work, but also getting us the business or keeping us the business.
That's a great point, Kell. That's a way I've told that too, of how they don't understand by looking good, they make themselves a lot of money. I know it's not something that, is on their settlement every week, looking good, $100, but I'm telling you, it pays its dividends tenfold, because them providing good customer service, playing the part with a good attitude, truck looking good, trailer clean, taking care of business. You have those guys that just take care of customers, and we're on the same page. I tell them they got to buy into that customer service and safety, to be on the same page, and it'll take care of themselves, and it does. And you're exactly right. We've gotten a lot of business from that way. So, all right. Anything you guys want to add before we shut her down? We've been on here long enough. I'm sure they're tired of listening to us.
I think that's all I got for today.
I appreciate you guys joining us. Appreciate all our listeners out there. Y'all listening to the podcast. It's getting better and better all the time. We got a lot more listeners than we did when we first started. We're always looking for input from you guys. If y'all got any input out there, please email me or call me or text me. You can go to the Oakley Podcast.com and find us there. And other than that, this episode is coming out the day before Thanksgiving, so I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Be sure and hope you get to spend a little time with family. And I know everybody's cut short on the COVID rules. Can't have a whole lot of people at the house, but I hope everybody enjoys Thanksgiving, and we're looking forward to seeing you after Thanksgiving, and looking forward to next week's episode. Stay in touch, and happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate or review the show in the podcast platform of your choice and share it with a friend. We love hearing from our audience, so if you've got a question, comment, or just want to say hello, head over to our website, theoakleypodcast.com, and click the Leave a Comment button. We'll get you a response soon and may even share some of the best ones here on the show. We'll be back with a fresh episode very soon. Thanks for listening.